guys, everyone, welcome to another Garry's Mod and also Half-Life lore video. And in this video, I will be discussing why I think that Gordon Freeman is not really a hero and should not be considered a hero. So, as all of you probably know, Gordon Freeman is usually displayed or presented as a omnipotent force that not even something as powerful as the Universal Union is able to stop. However, there's a lot of nuances to this that I wanna kinda take apart, focus on, because let me tell you, Gordon Freeman is not really a hero. So it all, first of all, comes down to Gman's manipulation. As you know, Gordon Freeman at the end of Half-Life 1 was basically employed by the Gman, you could say, right? He was put into stasis, which means he did not age a single second ever since he was put there, and then he was released during the events of Half-Life 2, so roughly around 20 years after the Combine's occupation. So he was basically released, you know, he was put onto the train, and his whole journey was monitored and manipulated by Gman. Okay? Gman is the one that, was making the odds for him so that they go according to what the Gman wants, right? Another thing I wanna focus on, that obviously Half-Life 2 is fiction, and so is Half-Life. Once again, I do not really understand why Gordon Freeman was able to liquidate an entire Marines unit. United States Marines, you know what they say, that the Marines are the toughest military force out there, or at least in America, you know. How come a 27-year-old nerd without even a helmet, he's not even wearing the fucking HEV helmet, how was he able to kill heavy armored Marines? Once again, it was Gman probably manipulating the odds in Freeman's favor. And second, it's all just pure fiction. It's supposed to look like a 90s action movie, and basically the same thing applies for Half-Life 2, right? I mean, the thing is that the narrative of Half-Life 2 and the entire Half-Life universe, not just Half-Life 2, but the entire Half-Life universe is written around, the underdog complex. You know, like the underdogs, the freaking homeless hobos with guns called resistance members, you know, dismantling something as incredibly powerful as the Combine. But when you look at it realistically, that would not have happened. I mean, look at the infrastructure the Combine has. You know, they have the Citadel, they have the transhuman arm, they have civil protection, they have synths. You know, they have much more advanced technology than people. The thing is, I already discussed it in a video recorded like 2 weeks ago, I don't know. Anyways, I wanna kinda make a correction in here. Humans, on the Kardashev scale, it's not Kardashian scale, it's Kardashev scale, that's another correction I wanna make, are below 1. What I googled, we're about 0.7 on the Kardashev scale. We can barely use our planet, let alone our own star. We cannot even use our own star. You know, the Combine, like as the Universal Union, the entire Universal Union, not just the Earth detachment, but the entire Universal Union, is about, well, let's just say, I don't know, number 4, number 5 on the Kardashev scale. I mean, they mastered energy harvesting to basically as best as it can be, right? They have multi-dimensional teleport technology. They have a incredibly, unfathomably strong military force. And they can conquer entire civilizations within mere hours. You know, so how exactly is it that a bunch of humans, a bunch of the very species that were terribly, embarrassingly defeated by the Combine in mere hours, are suddenly able to put up such a fight and rid the planet of the Combine for, what reason? Right, so why is it exactly that the rebels would be able to achieve something like this? And Gordon Freeman is no soldier. Gordon Freeman is no secret service agent. He's no assassin. He has no connection to the military. He's just an ordinary scientist, and that's it. He's nothing more than that. Just a scientist who barely achieved his PhD. Then why do people think that the guy, just because he has a fancy suit, can outmaneuver all of the, infrastructure and force the Combine has to offer? I think that's bullshit, and it's really just written just to please people, you know. But if Half-Life 2 and even Half-Life was meant to be realistic, then Gordon Freeman would have died within the first few minutes of the resonance cascade. If also Gordon Freeman wasn't being, or wouldn't have his odds and his luck and environment manipulated by the Gman, nothing would be achieved by him. Gordon Freeman is a nobody. Realistically, he would be a nobody without Gman, without his stupid fancy suit, which, by the way, also shouldn't realistically be that durable. I mean, it wasn't made for combat, it was made for research. It's a piece of science equipment. It's not even anything combat or military related. I mean, a single alternate fire from the pulse rifle like this should be able to melt through the plates of the suit. I mean, this is concentrated dark matter, you know. This. The suit should not be able to withstand this. The Overwatch soldiers are wearing actual military grade, very, very, very advanced transhuman military grade equipment. Gordon's suit shouldn't stand a chance against it. Besides, Gordon Freeman is just a standard human. He's still 27 years old. During the time of Half-Life 2, because he was in stasis, he hasn't aged a single bit. He's an ordinary man. All he did was just complete the hazard course, but that's not even combat oriented. He has no combat training, nothing. He's just a scientist. Why do you keep overrating him so bad? When you look at it realistically, Gordon Freeman should have died in the first minutes or hours at best of the resonance cascade. That guy shouldn't have even survived Black Mesa. He shouldn't. He did thanks to Gman. Most importantly, we have Gman to blame for this. the elusive one. That's the problem. And as you know, Gman is hard to contain. The vault, you know, that all was made to contain Gman, but you know, Gman is the actual threat because he can turn ordinary civilians like Freeman into, you know, into uncontrollable projectiles. And once again, I don't really think Gordon Freeman should have survived even with Gman's help, because sure, Gman did manipulate the surroundings and the timeline and stuff like that for Gordon Freeman, you know, so that Gordon Freeman would, you know, kinda have higher chances of survival. But other than that, you know, it's also a lot of writing fiction. You know, it's a lot of fantasy. But if you look at it pragmatically, realistically, Gordon Freeman should have been dead. He shouldn't have survived. At least that's the way I see it. That Valve just chose fan service and absolutely unhinged fan fiction, absolutely insane odds over realism if Half-Life 2 and even Half-Life 1 were meant to be realistic, then we wouldn't even be playing as Gordon Freeman in Half-Life 2 anymore. So to sum it up, Gordon Freeman is not a hero. He's just a mere puppet, a mere asset for Gman. And even with Gman's help, he should not have survived because the Combine is simply omnipotent, you know. And actually the Combine is much stronger than Gman because Gman was able to be trapped for years in the vault. Gman was able to be trapped in the vault in the first place. Vault, you know, it was made by the Combine. So clearly the Combine does have quite a lot of physical leverage over Gman. And the style that Valve chose, you know, I love Valve, I love Half-Life 2, but I think it's just too much fantasy, too much fiction, you know. And since, as you probably know, I am highly interested in the Combine, and I like to learn more about them. Now that I'm thinking about it, you know, the whole narrative, the whole story of Half-Life 2 is just kinda nonsense. I'm not saying Half-Life 2 is bad, I very, very much love Half-Life 2, the whole Half-Life universe. But my way of enjoying this universe is to look at it through how it should have actually been realistically, without a bunch of fantasy and stuff like that, you know. So that's kind of how I look on it. These are cool shades. Look at that. do that. I think the Combine should have won in Half-Life 2. Strip Half-Life 2 and even Half-Life 1 of the grandiose underdog uprising, element, and all that you have left is pure Darwinism and the clear dominance by the Combine. I mean, the HECU, the Marines, would not have survived either way. Because even though the Marines could have survived the Resonance Cascade, since Gordon Freeman would not have killed them all, they would probably not have survived the Combine's occupation unless they would join the Combine. But since they would probably join the Resistance, especially when you have something like the Marines, which are known to be kinda hardcore, kinda loyal, I bet most of them would join the Resistance. Even though they're trained soul world combatants, and stuff like that. No soldier, no Marine can really stand against the transhuman soldiers of the Combine Overwatch, So, that is the way I see it. In conclusion, Gordon Freeman is not a hero. He's a mere asset for Gman. Gman does most of the work for him. And even then, Freeman should not have survived. Because most of Half-Life's writing and narrative is pure fantasy, pure underdog, complex-fueled fiction. The Combine should have prevailed if Half-Life was realistic, or written realistically. That is what I meant to say, if the narrative made more sense. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone, and I guess I'll see you in the next video. And I might want to find some other maps, but maybe I'll find some other review, really. Anyways, thanks for watching, and goodbye.